Hello and welcome back to Crusader Legacies. I'm Whitman, and here we go. We're talking about the final Hobbit movie. We spent the last couple of weeks looking at the previous two. So today we're going to finish up with The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, the last of the Hobbit Trilogy. But in all honesty, it's only part 3 of the Middle-earth saga. So, let's get straight into it. What did I think about this movie? It was good. I enjoyed it. But while I ranked the first movie as probably my favorite, the first movie is still my favorite. I gave that one about a 7.5, and then Desolation of Smaug, the second one, I gave about a 7. I would put this one more so around in the 6 to 6.5 territory. Not that it's bad, per se. It's just not as good as what we could have gotten, per se. And I think, if anything, it just kind of holds off into some of the things that I'll discuss in just a little thing. So, with the Battle of the Five Armies, the main plot shows our Bilbo Baggins, our Hobbit, our main character, still with the 13 dwarves, led by Thorin Oakenshield, but only this time now with a sudden death of the dragon Smaug from the last movie, which the dragon does die. But because of the sudden death of the dragon, the mountain is now up for grabs, and the vast riches that lie within. And so now, Bilbo and the dwarves have the mountain under their control. The question is, can they hold it? When you have elves coming in, elves and men coming in who are trying to get their claim on the wealth of the mountain, all at the same time you have these armies of orcs and goblins and trolls coming to take over, to capture the mountain for their dark master, which is Sauron, which we find out from the last movie was Sauron. All the while, Gandalf manages to escape his imprisonment and rushes to warn everybody about the impending attack of these orcs. And so it's these two armies of orcs, the army of elves and a small contingent of men, and as well as a friendly army of dwarves that come in to the aid of Thorin Oakenshield, all of them coming together in this huge climactic clash to see who is going to become and control the king of the mountain. So, this one has a lot of going on in it. I mean, it's very, very probably packed in terms of padding. Okay, so it's very padded because, in all honesty, in the original book, the chapters that take place, along with what's going on in the story, are only maybe about 4 or 5 chapters, give or take. And again, the book is focused on Bilbo's perspective and point of view, and all that he does, and what he sees happening. Because again, Bilbo is the main character, but he's also more of a witness to everything going on. So it's not like everything's revolving around him. Everything's revolving around Thorin. And this is Bilbo's perspective of it. That's how it's addressed in the book. And in fact, Bilbo is knocked out in half of the battle, and he misses half the battle. He doesn't even see half of the battle in the book. In this one, they included a lot of stuff into the mix. So the things they threw in, they helped kind of trying to wrap up some story threads and everything. But all in all, it does kind of leave you a bit more exhausted. It doesn't feel it's quite as fulfilling as what we would maybe get in Lord of the Rings. So, some key things to bear in mind, and I'm going to go ahead and share this with you guys real quick, is some things that to bear in mind about, especially if this is the extended cut that I watched, and especially if you're going to show this to kids or just some things you need to be aware of. So for kids, just remember, just like with the last two, there are some creepy imagery and creatures in there that could probably terrify your kids a bit. I mean, of course, orcs and trolls are a huge deal, and of course, the dragon Smaug is in this again, but just for a short bit. Another thing that is probably the thing that might terrify your kids a bit more, if seeing orcs and goblins and huge armies of them attacking isn't going to creep you out or cause nightmare fuel, it would be more so, I said Sauron's back, but it would be more so like Sauron is revealing himself again in a fiery blaze, and it's creepy and it's dark. As well, he's showing off his servants, these 9 armored suits of armor, these 9 armored ghosts, so to speak, and the way that those ghosts, which are the ring wraiths, if you've seen Lord of the Rings, which we'll get into that when we get to Lord of the Rings. But what ended up happening, but the way they move, how kind of wretched and twisted and kind of, it's a bit unsettling. It's not as creepy and terrifying as the spiders from the last movie, I'll tell you that. But that might be something that you might want to be aware of, especially since one character comes to face Sauron, and it ends up that she ends up kind of looking really terrifying. It's not very pleasing to look at. She's very normally, and this is Galadriel, the Elf Queen, played by Cate Blanchett, and normally a very beautiful woman. But they play her off that when she's actually facing Sauron to basically force him out and stuff like that, it gets into a bit more of like, she kind of almost goes dark side in a way, where it's just like her blonde hair is now turned dead, like her whole face and everything's dead white with little blue and green lighting on it, which we see this again when we get to Lord of the Rings, but that could be a bit unsettling and uncomfortable for the little kids. And especially since she's facing against basically the devil himself. And though I enjoy what she says to him, because to me it's very reminiscent of what we have to say to demons if we're casting them out or just claiming authority over them, to the point that they have no place in our homes or in the lives of our family members and stuff. But just because it's very similar to like casting them out. And we're called to cast out demons, as Jesus did. But again, that could be unsettling to people who aren't ready for that, especially little kids. So, some other little unsettling things, because there's a scene where it's at night and suddenly you get all these giant bats flying around, and that could be a bit unsettling. But probably the biggest thing that you have to be aware of is that this extended cut is rated R. And the only reason why it's rated R, like all the other ones are rated PG-13, but this was rated R, and only reason why it's rated R is because of the violence, particularly in this titular battle of Five Armies, because there are sequences where there's these battle chariots that have the spinning wheels, and next thing you know, they're decapitating a ton of orcs and trolls, and it's blood, and you get all this black blood coming out. As well as there's other moments where they just ram like a warg, which is kind of like a hyena dog wolf hybrid thing, just really huge and nasty. But at one point, that little turn thing for the chariot ends up hitting this warg up against the wall, and then next thing you just get all this blood coming out. So that can be unsettling. So that's the warning. But again, that's the only reason why it's rated R, is because of violence. So, but it has some good moments in this, to say the least. I mean, highlights of this movie is when Smaug the dragon attacks Lake Town at the very start. As well, you get to see Sir Christopher Lee, who plays Saruman in these movies as well as Lord of the Rings. He does make one final appearance, and I'd say it's actually kind of cool to watch. Some other important, really cool moments in there is, I'm a huge sucker for battle charges. So there's a scene where our main characters, they've been stuck in the mountain and they rush forward, and the music is triumphant and cool, which the music is really good. I actually probably like the music in this one almost as much as I do the music in the first movie. Getting to see Beorn, the shapeshifter who shifts between man and bear, seeing him in there again is fun. And just overall, you finally get the final showdown between Thorin Oakenshield and Azog, the big pale orc that's been chasing him, who is leading these armies. So you get a final, fairly satisfying fight between these two, where actually there is a winner finally. That no one's running off, no one is. It's a fight to the death. So those will be some of the major highlights. So, again, it's not the strongest out of any of the Hobbit movies, and probably if you ranked it with Lord of the Rings, it'd probably be the bottom most one out of all of them, being completely honest. And especially since the battle itself is probably an hour long. It's probably a little over an hour long, and you feel exhausted from it. It's not like just because it's like, oh, it's going downhill. Oh, we're winning. Oh, we're about losing again. And it takes you in a roller coaster ride of highs and lows where you can get exhausted, where it may get you a bit exhausted. And it's like, oh my goodness, breathe, which they try to throw in little moments in there to help you breathe, but I don't know if they quite work out all that well compared to what we got from Lord of the Rings. So, with that being said, I recommend still watching it, as well as just watching all of them. And you do get some good payoffs in the end. Some of them are little name drops for Lord of the Rings, but you do get some nice payoffs in the end, especially regarding Bilbo and Thorin Oakenshield and Gandalf, with those three in particular. And I would also say that definitely stay for the credits. Stay through the credits, at least for a good part of it, because if you hadn't watched the first two movies yet, you will notice that obviously there's a song that happens during the credits. But this one, yes, same story, but you get gorgeous, gorgeous hand-drawn concept art that is done by by the two people, John Howe and Alan Lee, who did the concept art for Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and as well as they did some of the concept art like for this. Like, this is done by Alan Lee, one of the conceptual artists. So my recommendation is stick around and watch it. See the concept art. Just because they take a lot of time, and these people just are just loving every minute of it, and it's a dream come true for them to get to work on a movie like this. Not to mention, if you are a huge Lord of the Rings fan, the song that's playing in the end during the credits is sung by none other than Billy Boyd, who plays Pippin from Lord of the Rings, one of the Hobbits. So it's very worthwhile to at least get to listen to Billy Boyd come back again in some small part, just to at least hear him sing. And if you've seen Lord of the Rings, you know Billy Boyd, who plays Pippin, can sing. And it's actually still one of my favorite songs that I've heard during any of the credit sequences. And it does kind of leave you a little bit of a sad ending, because you realize that this may be the last time that we come back to Middle-earth at the time that when it was released. Obviously, this will not be my last time visiting Middle-earth, because we got Lord of the Rings coming up soon. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Again, not as good. It's not the best, and it's not even the second best out of these 3 Hobbit movies. But it's still enjoyable. If you can get past a few cringeworthy characters and moments that are in comparison to the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. But it's worth it in the end, because you get some good action, some funny little hijinks in between, and you get some good moments between Bilbo and Thorin Oakenshield. And, I mean, those two are the ones that are carrying the whole movie. And sadly, sometimes it kind of deviates from them and focuses on other people when it should be focused on those two. And Gandalf on occasion, but again, Gandalf's not a main character. Not like Bilbo and Thorin. Anyway, but if you want more detail, I'll give you more detail in my spoiler review. So be sure to stick around and join. I'll put the link to the spoiler review in the description down below. But be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video around. If you got a video, or you got a movie or a TV series you want me to recommend me review, be sure to put it in the comments down below. I am open to it. I might take a break from The Hobbit, from Middle-earth for a bit. So I would like to hear from you. So if you got any videos that you want me to do over any certain movies or TV series, be sure to share that. And I will take over and see what you say there, and you'll just have to wait and see what I decide to do. So I will catch you in the spoiler review. Otherwise, I will catch you next time. Take care.